Hey poets, your first poem is due on Monday of next week so that people have plenty of time to read and give feedback on them. If you are in the early workshop group, so you're meeting on Tuesday, try to get that poem in by Friday afternoon so that people have the weekend to work on it. Kind of unfair, but that's how it kind of shook out. Okay. If you are stuck on your poem right now, hit me up on that Calendly link. We can discuss it and sort of get you in a better headspace with it. It'll be fine. That's what meetings are for. That's what Zoom is for. Yay! Okay, so why are we doing workshop synchronously? Because have you ever read a poem and you absolutely didn't like it? Or you didn't understand it, or the vocabulary was weird and you just couldn't get it sounding right in your head. So you read it and you wrote your annotation and you were angry at it or sad about it, right? And then you went to class and the teacher talked about it and your classmates talked about it and suddenly it made a little bit more sense, right? There were things in it that you liked. You heard someone else read their work, and you heard where they put the pauses, where they put the emphasis, and suddenly you're like, oh, that's what they're trying to do. That didn't land. Okay, if they fix this and this, then it'll land a little bit better, right? And your commentary changes based on sort of what happens in the conversation. That's exactly why I'm asking you to give up 2 hours and 30 minutes of your life over the course of 2 workshops to kind of do this. How workshop works, though, is before you come in, you need to have 5 poems commented on with feedback. So, before you come to your workshop day, you need to work on your classmates' poems. And the way that it works in the space is we all log on to Zoom at the specified time. Please do not be late. That will dock you points. Be very punctual for workshop. Workshop is important and you don't want to diminish the amount or the quality of feedback that a classmate gets because there's one less voice in the room. There's only going to be 5 other people talking about the poem, and me, of course. So every voice really does count here. But the way it's going to work is we're all going to log on to the Zoom, and for this first one, we're going to go alphabetically by first name. First person will read their poem, mute themselves, and then we'll talk about the poem for about 8 minutes, and then the poet can unmute themselves and then ask questions, clarifications, things that they were worried about that we didn't even bring up, those sorts of things, right, in that question period, and then we move on to the next person. During the comment phase, you must comment on all poems. If someone, on all poems that are not your own. So if you are commenting on a poem, you're not the poet, right? The poet needs to be silent so that they can hear critique. But if you are not the poet, you need to comment. However, if someone has already said what you were thinking, or maybe you're just a little shy, that's what the Zoom thumbs up feature is for, right? Those emoticons, those reactions, click those to visually show, yes, I agree with this change, and sort of participate in that way if you don't have anything to say. You need to speak verbally for at least 3 poems, or try to, but the agreement option is there. And poets, definitely be taking notes. Be looking at the chat, be looking for emoticons, be on the lookout for agreement of that sort. Because the more people who think your poem is slightly confusing, the more you need to be somewhat concerned about that, right? Okay. Not your poem, but a line specifically. So how do you comment on poems that are Word documents? First off, you go to the discussion board and you click on each title in the board, and it'll take you to the actual thing with the attachment. You click there, you load it, it loads as a Word doc. Yay! You go to review. You go to track changes. You make sure track changes is on. Track changes being on will allow you to do wonderful things like this. Anything you add or erase is going to turn red so that the poet knows that that's not their work and that was you monkeying around. Very useful. For comments, you highlight where you think something needs to be said, where you have something to say, and you can then write in this little box here. I write very long formats, very long comments, rather. You don't have to write this long, but try for 5 comments. And after you go line by line and you comment on things, right, and you reorder things and you erase things, your last comment needs to be a little bit longer. It needs to be about 1-2 paragraphs for each person, where you address them by name and you sum up what your biggest concerns are and kind of what you think would most help this poem. So for this particular person, I didn't address them by name, obviously, because this is an example. But seriously, student, who is the speaker? I have a feeling you're alluding to a character, but I'm not getting enough hints. So who she's referencing is kind of missing. That's something that she needs to kind of focus on. Sensory details would help and bring in more detail to clarify the character in the first place. Yay! You do not have to listen to my commentary specifically. You do have to be able to, in your revision letter, justify why you made the changes that you did. A feedback paragraph is going to make that easier by kind of summing things up and giving an action plan and closing on sort of the poem. Now, always start with a greeting by name if you can, and always have something positive, right? This is a great start. It just leaves me with questions. So even though I was really long-winded and kind of harsh there, I was still very like, yeah, go you! Because it is a good poem, I just don't know who it's about. Right? So, that is commentary on a Word doc. Now, if you're old-fashioned like me and you want to do pen and paper commentary, that is fine. I'm still expecting 5 comments. Good comments. Like reordering words, or hey, this is vague, what does this mean for the speaker? That sort of stuff. I'm still expecting 5 comments. I'm still expecting your ending paragraph or 2. But if you want to print them out and write on them, that is absolutely fine. If you have a scanner, you can do it that way. Hook up the scanner to the computer, scan them in, save them as PDFs, send them over. If you do not have a scanner, but you do have a smartphone, ta-da! Adobe Scan. It's available for Google Play and the Apple Store, and it turns your phone into a scanner. You hover it over the document you're trying to take a picture of, snap the photo, and it converts it into a PDF that you can then attach to a discussion board post and give back to the poet. Yay! So even if you're old school, you can still do the commentary thing. Right? This is why it's important that you not give any files that aren't Word files. There is a way to comment on PDFs, but it's a little clunkier. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know, but this should hopefully clear it up. See you soon, y'all. I'm excited. Bye.